Penguin Random House Audio presents Primal Intelligence. You are smarter than you know. This is the author, Angus Fletcher. Note to listeners, this program includes a downloadable PDF that contains visuals discussed throughout the program, a primal self-assessment quiz, and a list of further reading on primal intelligence. For my father, who read me Tiger, Tiger. Prologue. Nobody noticed the colonel on the campus green. The spring day was busy, students rushing to class, absorbed in their phones. And anyway, it was the colonel's job to go unseen. With his standard shoulders and colorless clothes, he'd parachuted onto 1,000 targets, from coconut Pacific reefs to concrete Persian palaces to moonlit bullet alleys. Wherever he went, he vanished. It was March 2021. The colonel had dropped into Ohio State, a rambling public university built of brick and brick and brick and glass, to investigate a rumor. During the colonel's 20-year U.S. Army career, he'd investigated rumors about psychic spies, aura cameras, and faster-than-light flying machines. But it had been a while since he'd probed a tale as unlikely as this. Supposedly, an Ohio State think tank had discovered a lost brain part that powered the brilliance of Steve Jobs, and Maya Angelou, and Nikola Tesla, and Vincent van Gogh. Making some casual inquiries, the colonel found to his surprise the think tank existed. It was housed on the top floor of what had once been the university's administrative headquarters, a rusted structure with a broken heater that ran full strength in summer. There was no locked door guarding the think tank, or even a sign to mark its entrance. It was just a sleepy corridor of nondescript offices. Yet despite the think tank's anonymous appearance, it had a name. An offbeat name, the colonel thought. It was Project Narrative. Project Narrative wasn't listed in any Army database, but it was famous in its own way, renowned in academic circles for its pioneering work with doctors, astronauts, and poets. And when the colonel deftly befriended one of its researchers, 40-ish male, black-rimmed glasses, Stanford Ph.D., he heard that there was truth to the unlikely tale about the think tank's activities. Or so, at least, the researcher asserted. The researcher introduced himself as Dr. Mike Benvenisti, lead analyst at the lab of Professor Angus Fletcher. He spoke in complete paragraphs, dense and technical, like he was spontaneously composing an encyclopedia. He claimed that the Fletcher lab had identified a primordial brain power that drove intuition, imagination, common sense, and smart emotion. This brain power was neglected in modern schools and impossible for computer AI. Yet it was the key to the mental gifts of Jobs, Angelou, Tesla, Van Gogh, and also Marie Curie, Abraham Lincoln, Wayne Gretzky, William Shakespeare. The list went on. The colonel was skeptical. That was also his job, to be skeptical. But his skepticism was more than a professional formality. He could believe that modern schools were missing something. He could even believe in a science of intuition. But a power beyond artificial intelligence? The idea struck him as far-fetched and dangerous. The colonel was a seasoned computer expert, proficient with megacore systems that ran quadrillions of calculations a second. And while he knew that AI had limits, Alan Turing's proof of the halting problem sprang to mind. He'd learned to never underestimate it. What, the colonel politely inquired, was this power that lurked in ancient regions of the human head, yet was a no-go for space-age computers? The researcher responded by speaking in neuroscience, synaptic transmission, narrative cognition, which he then summarized. We call it Primal Intelligence. Primal Intelligence was only a theory. It had never been tested outside Project Narrative. It was too new, and too unusual. But after sifting through thick stacks of laboratory documents, the colonel admitted to himself, the theory was unexpectedly compelling. It squared with common sense, and it matched his own intuition. That didn't prove anything, of course, but the colonel's intuition had kept him alive on hundreds of wartime adventures, high speed and low cover. So, after careful deliberation, he made a decision. He would put Primal to an independent trial. The trial would be a risk, a big one. The colonel didn't want to go down in history alongside Jim Channon, the Army War College officer who in 1982 had authored the 1st Earth Battalion, a New Age manual instructing U.S. soldiers on how to alter time with their dreams. To probe the incredible while avoiding debacle, the Primal trial would need to be run by individuals with big imaginations but no patience for bullshit. Such individuals were uncommon, but the Army did have a pipeline for making them. A pipeline at U.S. Special Operations. The colonel knew the pipeline well. It had produced him. And it had also produced handheld GPS, quick clotting medical gauze, and future gear too hush-hush for public knowledge. These ventures had succeeded not just because of the willingness of special operations to dare huge, but because hard jobs in harder places had instilled operators with zero tolerance for magic happy. Magic happy was nice ideas that broke on contact with reality. Magic happy was stoner mysticism and college philosophy. Magic happy was a rearguard luxury and a frontline catastrophe. Would special operations reject Primal as magic happy? The colonel picked up a phone to find out. Moments later, he had an answer. Special operations would give Primal a shot. Like the Ohio State think tank, they were believers in intuition and common sense. So, if Primal could give them more, well, they would try anything, once. At a clandestine site made from bronze rock and gunmetal beams, protected by satellite jammers and radar-guided Vulcan cannons, U.S. Special Operations mastered the Fletcher Lab's theory. With the colonel's guidance, they turned it into practical training. Then they ran the training on the Army's most elite units, their names secret, their missions classified. The training worked. The operators saw the future faster. They healed quicker from trauma. Faced with life and death situations, they chose wiser. In 2023, the Army awarded the Fletcher Lab a medal for groundbreaking research, formally recognizing the existence of Primal. This book tells the story of the training that Project Narrative and Army Special Operations created. The training is simple, not easy. It is not an optimization hack or a cheat code. It is a different way of using your brain. It will activate intuition, imagination, emotion, and common sense, awakening the powers of Van Gogh, Tesla, Angelou, Jobs, and all the rest, so that you can use the know-how you forgot you knew, your lost nature, your primal intelligence. Introduction. Your lost nature. In the early 2000s, U.S. Army Special Operations saw trouble coming. Not trouble outside, trouble within. Young Special Operations recruits were underperforming at decision-making, strategic planning, and leadership. The recruits had high, even profoundly gifted IQ scores. They rated off the charts in ideation, rational analytics, and other advanced metrics. Yet their intelligence turned brittle in dynamic environments. As one observer put it, they can solve math problems, but not life problems. This wasn't just an issue for the Army. It was an issue for the recruits. It made them prone to violent anger, dysfunctional relationships, and pill addiction. And what really concerned the Army was that the situation was deteriorating. Recruits were doing worse in 2020 than in 2010 than in 2000.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?